Hello, guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message it was forwarded to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my story as anonymous? My story goes on like this. I am a young lady. Currently, I am aged 25 years old now. I have one child. This story of mine, it happened when I was around 19 years. I had moved from the place where I grew up in. This was after my mom had passed away. I then came to the city, and when I came to the city, I started staying with one of my mom's sister who had volunteered at my mom's funeral, saying that she wanted to stay with me. So back in the village where I grew up in, my mom, she had built her house, but she had gotten remarried. And when she had gotten remarried, my stepdad was the one who helped her to finish building up her house. So since I was a girl and my mom, she had managed to have boys with my stepdad. Then at the family meeting, they said that this house it belonged to my younger brothers. And after my mom had passed away, I just thought that it is far much better that I move from home. And my mom's sister, she had said that she was willing to stay with me. I traveled from the village soon after my mom's funeral. Then I went to the city and I started staying with my mom's sister. Staying with her, life was very difficult because she didn't have a husband and I didn't like the behavior of her daughters. Yes, previously I had had so many scandals concerning these cousin sisters of mine that since I was in the village and they were always in the city, I never knew the extent of their scandals that they were doing in the city. They were not okay at all, because what they would do is that they would go out, and when they would come back, let's say if they come back drunk, it will be them and their boyfriends coming back late at night drunk. Some of the boyfriends would even come, and my mom's sister, she would allow her daughters to sleep with a man even in the dining room. They would just take some blankets, then they would sleep in the dining room. It was really embarrassing because I was not used to this type of life whereby you do not respect your parent. But anyway, I just said, let me mind my own business. So each and every time I would try, when I still had some money that people had donated on my mom's funeral, some of it had been given to me. So I was using that money to go and print out some CVs and always going around town dropping my CVs at different shops. But I was not getting a response at all. When the money was finished, I was just stuck at home, not doing anything. I was more like their maid now, taking care of my cousin sister's kids because they all have kids. And then people started complaining. I went ahead, my cousin sisters, they didn't know that I was inside the house, so they were gossiping about me. They thought that maybe I was outside doing some house chores, and they said that all that I was doing was just eating their food, switching on the microwave and heating more food. But I just thought that food is not supposed to be laid to waste. So whenever someone would leave some food, I would take it and I would place it inside a tin. Then I would eat it later. So they were saying that I am someone who loves eating a lot. When I saw that people that I was staying with were now complaining about the food, I just thought that it is far much better that I start another hustle. And in my life, I am not a good hustler. It is just not in my body being a hustler. Even though I didn't have the proper hustling skills, I tried to approach some ladies in that town, and these ladies that I approached, they knew my mom's sister, the one that I was staying with. So they were hustling, selling like products like Herbalife, and they were selling Avon. Then there was another woman who said that she could get me so that I can also start selling Herbalife and Avon products. But it was really difficult for me. It was just difficult. I would walk around trying to sell the products, but it was just not my thing. I was not that great at marketing. So from there on, I then started dating this other guy, even though I didn't like this guy. I dated him simply because I was really desperate. This guy that I started dating, who was a Shona guy, he once came at my auntie's place and he wanted to fix the room. So the next time that he came around with the equipment and everything, it was only me at home and some of my cousin sisters' kids, the ones that were not yet going to school. So what my cousin sisters were now doing is that early in the morning, if they wanted to go out, they would remove the cornflakes, the milk from the fridge and everything. Then they would just leave, just the basic food so that I can prepare soft porridge. That is all that I had to eat. And on that day, when I looked in the fridge, there was no meat at all, meaning that they wanted me to make a plan, and I didn't have any plan at all. So whilst that guy from Zim was busy working, I then started speaking with him. And when I was speaking with him, he saw that I was really interested in him. And as a man, he then said that he loved me. I was really desperate on that day, and I was feeling dizzy because of starvation, since in that household, usually what people would do is that when you go out, you will eat, either you go to your boyfriend's place, and when you come back, then people would prepare food in the evening. People were just struggling. So I was really starving. Then that guy, when he asked for my number, I saw that this was my opportunity. I then laughed at him and I said, if you want my number, you have to buy me quarter. That is all that I wanted in exchange of my number. I was so desperate. And when he pulled out his wallet, my brother, he didn't have a lot of money. But when you are broke, even if someone gives you 10 rand, you really feel happy. So he said, let us go together. We then went together, my brother, and we bought the quarter and the cold drink. Upon returning back, that guy was pressing me. He even offered me some money so that I can sleep with him. He offered me money and he promised me that he was going to give me more. So I agreed. We ended up sleeping together. From there on, I started to have that habit of dating mainly foreign guys, and I was never broke. At least I knew that in that area that I was staying, any guy that I was dating would end up giving me money. I then found a job. There was this other supermarket that called me. I had once gone there and left my CV, so they called me for the interview. I went there and I was hired, and I was just working as a casual worker, not a permanent. When I was now working, I dumped the guys that I was dating. So I moved out of my auntie's place and I was now staying in the CBD, which was close to work. When I arrived in the CBD, I started dating another guy as well. But this guy that I was dating, even though I had seen the red flags previously, but I just thought that he was just someone who loves alcohol. But this guy, he was a heavy substance abuser. All of those red flags, I just ignored them, because when I calculated after he had said that he wanted me to come and stay with him, I said, oh, it means that there will be no more rent money for me, no more buying food. At least I can use my money to just keeping it so that I can start a small business. So when I was staying with him, that was when I noticed that this guy, he was regularly taking illegal drugs. There were always traces of illegal drugs in the room that we were staying. And as time went on, that was when he started convincing me to join him. He would wait until when we were about to make love, then he would offer me a drink and he would say, here, take it, you are going to feel great. So what I started to notice is that each and every time that he would give me a drink, I think that he used to spike it, because I would feel such a great desire to make love, just wanting to make love even throughout the night without resting. So I think that it was the effects of the drugs that he was placing in the juice that he used to give me just before we started making love. Little by little, my brother, I started to get addicted, because it was almost like on a daily basis. I would wake up having a hangover, and when I would wake up feeling sick, he would offer me some of the drugs. We would melt it, then we would inject it into our bodies, then some of it we used to smoke it. That is how I ended up being addicted. So this guy, at the place where they were working. They were now doing a breathalyzer test. He was then found that he was not fit to work because he had gone to work drunk and he was operating heavy equipment. He got fired from his work because after he had been given several warnings, he kept on going to work high on drugs. So after he was fired, I was the one who was now the breadwinner. Then with time, I think that this guy he thought of a plan of using me, and since I was now addicted, I didn't even realize it at that time. I only got to realize it after me and him had broken up, that this guy he was busy using me. So what he would tell me is that please give me some money. I would give him the money, then he would never return it back to me. And when it was month end, I'll be the one who would pay the bills, buy the food and everything. So my money, the one that I was earning on a monthly basis, it was always finished in a single day. And after the money would have been finished, we still had that habit of ours that we needed to feed, of taking those drugs. So what I ended up doing is that I started cheating on him. Even though he knew that I was cheating on him, he didn't even care. I started dating those guys, the ones that I used to date when I was staying with my auntie back in that other location where I was staying. So this thing led me to date a lot of guys. I think when I was doing this, there was a time when I was dating close to 20 guys all at once, just knowing that if this one is going to give me 200 rands, then all of them, if they give me money, I'll be having a lot of money. And all of that money, we would be feeding it into that habit of taking drugs. That was when I met this other man from another country, which I don't want to mention. Me and that guy, we started dating. The guy he seemed to be someone who was financially stable, but I didn't know what kind of a job that this guy was doing. He was just good, he had a lot of cars and he claimed to have a business, but he didn't want to explain what his business was all about. So one day we were at his place, and the strange part about it is that one day he would say that I want you to move in with me, and when you go to his place he would say that no, we need to do it the proper way. We have to go first to my country, and after that when you come back, then you can become my wife. So he was just confusing me like that. But there was this other time when I had gone to his place for a sleepover, and I just wanted to stay with him. When you find a guy who is financially stable, as a woman, you tell yourself that this is my final resting place. But little did I know that there was a whole lot of things that were waiting for me that was going to shock me. This guy, he had even said that I do not want you to work anymore, but I was scared of not going to work. I wanted him to give me at least a promise ring or something like that so that I can stop going to work. So this guy, he would go to work early in the morning. Even I didn't know what kind of a job he was doing. So I'll be the one that would remain after cleaning up the place. Then I would go to work since we started at around 8. So I would get out of the house somewhere around 7:30, because the shop where I was working at that time, it was really close to the place where he was staying. I could even walk on foot. Then that time, after I had forced myself to sleep over at his place and stayed with him for a few days, I then said one day, you know what, this thing that I'm doing, it is not good. I should not wait for him like to clean each and every place, because I am his woman. I want to show him that he should get married to me. So what I did when that guy had gone out, I then took a broom. There are those brooms whereby you buy it in the shop, the plastic one. That was the one that I was using when I was cleaning the bedroom. So as I was cleaning the bedroom, I said, but I have never cleaned underneath the bed. I'm sure there is a lot of dust in there. And I felt lazy to go and get the vacuum cleaner. I then started just sweeping with the broom whilst I was kneeling down. So when I was busy sweeping, I heard that the broom, it was busy hitting something, and I looked underneath the bed and I saw that just in the middle where I then saw that in this I then saw that on the floor there was something that was placed there that was covered with a red cloth. I said, what the hell is this? So I used that broom and I dragged whatever that item and I started looking at it. When I opened that red cloth, my brother, I saw that inside this other plate, it is like a traditional plate, but here in South Africa, we do not use those traditional plates. It is from their culture. I saw that plate that was underneath the bed, and inside that traditional plate, there were condoms, a lot of them that were used. Some of them they were even smelling. So I really got shocked because from the day that me and him started dating, we never used any protection at all. So I asked myself, what was he doing with all of these used condoms? I looked at them, they were a lot. I could not even count them. If I can just imagine how many they were, maybe I can say 13, 14, or to 15, because they filled up that traditional plate that had a red cloth covering it. And I started to feel really scared. All that I did, my brother, I left everything. Then I took my handbag and I took my uniform, because each and every time that I would go there, you would say that, no, do not come with your clothes, blah blah blah. So when I had gone there, I had just taken a few of my belongings. I took my clothes, my uniform, and I just walked out. I just left the door opened. It was only after I had gotten on a taxi, then I remembered that I had not locked the door and I didn't want to return there. I only told him that, please go and lock your door. I did not steal any of your stuff, and please never ever speak with me again in your life. I don't want to see you again in my life. So I thought that maybe he was going to explain everything that I had seen in his house, but he didn't say anything. He pretended as if life was really good. He started telling me that I should come back, and I blocked him. After I had blocked him, I was so scared that I just took that SIM card that I had and I said, I don't want to use this SIM card anymore. And I just threw it away, my brother, and that was it. I have never come across that man again. And the funny part is that even though he had spoken with my auntie a few weeks before I had seen these things, when I went back to my auntie's place thinking that maybe my auntie, she had spoken with him, my auntie said no, she didn't speak with him at all. He just went quiet on me and went quiet on my auntie. So after I had broken up with that guy, I thought, what am I going to do? Should I return back to that boyfriend of mine? And I said, no, I cannot do it. And for me to return back to my auntie, that was the only place that I had to return to, because now I was suffering, this thing of being addicted to something. I was not heavily addicted to the substances that had been taught to me by my ex-boyfriend, but I could not properly work if I didn't smoke some of that stuff. So each and every time when I was on my break, there was these other guys that used to sell it just next to the mall where I was working. So I would go there and buy some stuff and smoke. So this whole thing, it was not giving me a good vibe. I then decided that it was far much better for me to leave it. But it was not an easy journey, because I had to leave my job and I went and I started staying with my auntie, and I told my auntie that I was suffering from this addiction. Then my auntie took me to rehab. I then recovered. Since that year, my brother, I have managed to secure a few, just casual jobs, but I have never been able to get a permanent job. But when I started listening to your confessions, that was when I remembered my own story, and I said, but that guy, what was he doing with all of those used condoms underneath the bed? Because those condoms, after I had opened that red cloth, they were really smelly. Each and every time when I was with him, the house was always smelling fresh. But on that day, yo, those condoms, they were really smelly. I think maybe he had been keeping them for years and years. So maybe they are the ones that give him the money, or they are the ones that he is using. I do not even know. I just feel sorry for the women that he slept with, and after sleeping with them, keeping those used condoms. Maybe he stole something from those women. But this is my own story. If you post it, I'll